Hey, Matt here. I just wanted to add an extra intro to this episode to apologize to fans of Seven Spires. Not because we said anything terrible about them or this album, but because we originally recorded this episode when this album came out. And it's taken a while for me to edit and post it, but I have revised my editing workflow, and future episodes are going to turn around a lot faster. Follow us on the Bluesky at The One True Matt and at Buffalo70, at Buffalo70. That's right. Blake, who is not on Twitter, is on Bluesky, the new Twitter that is hopefully better than the old Twitter. That's the best place to tell us we're wrong. Give us episode suggestions, whatever. We'll have a good time. It'll be great. You'll love it. It's a way of life.
Well, there you go. Now that we've lost like any audience that was interested in power metal and stuff, let's talk about power metal.
It's good.
That's what's
it's good
up.
you didn't like it more because now we can fit both in one episode.
Yes,
because
fantastic.
we don't have to talk more about it because you didn't like it because your Philistine tastes or whatever. I don't know. It's fine.
You know
it's
what
fine.
I did
You
like?
some stuff.
Holy shit, really liked.
Yeah,
the
you
new
really
Seven
liked this
Spires.
new
It
Seven
was
Spires album.
really fucking good. Like throughout, there was all kinds of stuff to like. It's almost like I've probably listened to it, I don't know, 5-6 times now. And again, I haven't taken notes, and I should start taking notes, but that's what happens when I drive. It is good throughout. There's a song, the song with Ty on it is great. It's probably the best song I've ever heard Ty be on. It's not because of him, but it's the best song I've ever heard him on.
Yes, because you missed Sonic Symphony. No, I'm definitely kidding.
So I was reading an article about this, and they had a number of different guest singers. Some guy, I want to say Alessandro Conti.
You didn't send me the link or anything.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned I should do less stuff while I'm driving. I'm gonna kill someone at some point, maybe me. But that's a good point. There was. Nope, I don't remember any of their names. It's all right. I'll probably find that article again when it's not helpful for this. But they had somebody doing a lot of death vocals throughout, or harsh vocals, whatever you want to call them, which confused me a little bit because I thought that Adrian was a very capable harsh death style vocalist. Right. So after reading that, I kind of went back and listened again and tried to determine if there were distinct points where I could tell who was who when, and it was not obvious. But I don't know if that's good or bad or indifferent. I'm going to give it another listen at some point and see if I can find more information about it. That's just a thing I get to do, to listen to the album more, and that's fine. Adrian sounds fantastic. Guitarist, whose name I probably forgot, sounds fantastic. You said your friend Kai did some of the drumming, all the drumming?
No. Recorded the drums, like engineered the drum recordings, which is still
think they have
important.
A drummer though, or they not a full-time drummer.
Let's see. Chris Dovis is the drummer. I don't know if he's not a full-time member for some reason, or if you're just making that up.
I might be. But that's what we're here for. Reckless speculation.
Oh, interesting. Oh, he now plays with Testament. This is his final album with Seven Spires. So he was their drummer, but he is leaving, much like to play in a bigger band. Interesting. So this is a good album. It is, honestly, I probably enjoyed it more than any other Seven Spires album I've listened to. It's really interesting that they had, like you said, guest harsh vocals, and I'm also really curious which parts were who, because one of my biggest complaints about Seven Spires, and this does happen on this album, but I think less than any of their previous albums, is there are some of these weird, cringy moments where I feel like, because Adrian has a broad range of, let's say, colors to her harsh vocals that she can do, and sometimes I think it's like the wrong ones at the wrong time, or like too much of one when like a little goes a long way. And I think the worst thing I can say about this album is I think that they picked a terrible single, because I wasn't expecting this album to be that good based on the single, and the single and maybe this isn't even her, but it would be even weirder if they released a song that was like 80% someone else's vocals as the first single for the album. It's the last track on the album. It's like 80% death vocals that sound like a parody of death vocals, like, you know, like, and I was like, oh no, they're doing this kind of thing again, because they have had some cringy moments here and there over the years. I think it fits their style. It's part of like the kind of band they are, so it's like nobody who's a fan of this band cares or about what I'm talking about with that. But there's less of that on this album. It's just that like the worst example of it is the Old Herd of Being Left Behind is the last track on the album, and it was the first single, and I don't think it was a good single choice. It was probably my least favorite track on the album.
Wow. I'm going to disagree completely. I thought the death vocals were good at all times. I liked all of the harsh vocals on this. I was so impressed at one point that I was surprised, especially when I thought it was all Adrian. So now that some of it is guessed makes more sense. But see, where I thought Baloo was being sarcastic, I'm not sure where you're hearing parody in the vocals.
Oh, it's not intentional parody. No. It's like self-parody, which is very common actually in a lot of like, okay, again, her death vocals are very well performed, but there's a lot of mediocre death vocalists who constantly sound like a parody of death metal. Like, she actually does a very good job of like enunciating and getting words through. And so it's usually when that is lacking is where it starts to sound silly, and like comical. But like the last track is like melodic vocals take the longest of any song to come in on that. And it's all just like, and it's like, it's again, lots of people won't care what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Obviously, because there's lots of bands that do that constantly and they have fans, but their fans are wrong and it's very bad and like is silly. And it just turns me off to like a whole subset of death metal, because it's like, okay, like, yeah, it sounds real tough. Well, you literally sound like Cookie Monster, but not like, oh, it's just like Cookie Monster vocals. Literally like, me want cookie. Like, no, thank you. But let me figure out who these guest vocalists
I got
are.
I got it up in front of me right now. So, Alessandro Conti was the guy I was talking about. That's kind of he sounds like he's trying to copy the
Twilight
guy from
Force.
Stradivarius.
Probably.
I figured it was going to be some guy named Timo, but no, it's probably an Italian guy.
Yeah.
So there was Kristen Starkey and Ty on Love's Souvenir, which was really
Kristen
good.
Starkey is also singing. I mean, she's in another band too, but she's singing on Kai's album.
Well, all right.
So
well,
there's some overlap.
Makes a certain amount of sense. This other guy, this David Aukeson, it's a Oa, or not an Oa. Wait, yeah, that's an Oa, the A with the circle. So I never know how to pronounce that. So sorry, you're Scandinavians. Anyway, he's on Songs Upon Wine-Stained Tongues, Almost Town, Love Souvenir, Portrait of Us, Where Sorrows Bear My Name, and The Old Herd of Being Left Behind. So, like, all of the album. Oh, and also there's someone who's probably related to him because she has the same last name, named Angelica, and she's on Almost Town. And several other tracks. So, yeah, a ton of guest vocals, and it seems like the Grell vocals guy is on most of the stuff. So, it's very confusing.
It's interesting, though. It's because it's still possible that a lot of it is just like layering.
Could be.
Because they do a lot of... Another thing I do like that they do is they do a lot of layering of vocals, including layering like melodic over death metal vocals and stuff like that.
I would agree with that.
What is he from?
I looked him up briefly, and nothing I'd ever heard of, and it didn't seem like he had a lot of band output. It seems like maybe he's more of a guy who's done some hired gun work, and that's mostly it. Or I just Googled badly. That's a possibility.
He has a YouTube channel, but it's not that big.
Is it bigger than us? It's probably bigger than us.
He is available for hire on metalforhire.com.
Yeah, see,
which I didn't know was a thing.
Metalforhire.com. Fascinating.
Oh wait, here we go. He's on Encyclopedia Metallum.
Yeah, that's right. I looked him up too, and there was like I think 2 bands listed.
Oh geez, yeah, it's not much.
Yeah,
weird. Maybe he's a session guy or something. Oh,
a good old session harsh vocalist.
Yeah, which is again, Lisa, is weird because it's not like they necessarily need it, but
right.
Again, maybe it's sort of the equivalent of like the harsh vocal choir. You know, they have certain people on albums who just do it like backing vocals and layering stuff, and so it's possible that he did like a lot of that.
Could be.
Another interesting thing I realized in this album, because I always had a hard time deciding what to call Seven Spires, because like, you know, power metal or some kind of prog, they're not really like
not much prog.
There's only like one
Symphonic,
track.
Sure, prog.
Yeah. So thanks, you ruined it.
Sorry.
I was gonna say like there's maybe like one track where it sounds kind of prog, and it really more sounds like Evergrey, which is also like borderline symphonic. But yeah, basically there's symphonic metal band, because there's also like 3 parts on this album where I was like, is this a Camelot song?
Yeah. Oh my God. What was it? I forgot the name of the song again. I'm super bad at remembering names of songs, but there were 2 songs of this that were absolutely Camelot songs. I want to say Picture of Us or Portrait of Us. That's a Camelot song, straight up. Even in her intonation and some of the lyrics, it's like stolen from modern Tommies.
Yeah, and some of the melodies, there's literal melodies, and so that's the thing. Like, it's definitely symphonic is definitely the right label.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable saying that. There were little bits where it's especially getting into some of Adrian's more interesting vocal textures, where it starts to approach black metal.
Oh yeah, no, it's symphonic metal with like black metal references, basically.
Black and symphonic.
And they've always kind of done that. And I think they did it again more tastefully and better on this album, because usually again it would be one of those things where you're like, and now the blast beats and the trem picking, and you're like, and and that's the thing, her goblin voice. That's the part that
I like it.
When she goes of course you do.
Of course I
do.
do.
The like more extreme high pitch like
That's
black
fantastic.
metal vocals is sometimes the wrong thing at the wrong time. I'll give you a perfect example of this. The Sonic Symphony, the song that Ty did harsh vocals on, which is like a growling, screaming, "Don't Look Down." The song called, I assume it's called "Don't Look Down." Maybe it's
I watched this clip. It was I think just before the thing you wanted me to see.
Sonic Symphony video. It's like some Sonic Anniversary thing. Like, there's 2 actual performance. There's maybe 3 actual performance clips. I think there's 2 Adrian songs and then Ty doing the acoustic song. But then the rest of it's some other bullshit. So I didn't watch the rest of that. But in the performances, it was interesting to see how Adrian did the song that I saw Ty do, and I was surprised because I actually thought I would like her version better, but it turns out I didn't, because she went goblin voice on it, and I do not think that song benefited goblin voice. It needed like thick death metal voice.
What was it, a dragon or some shit? I don't know. I didn't watch it that carefully. It sounded pretty good.
No, it sounded like goblin voice, which is if you're in Necrogoblicon or like a black metal band, whatever, you're gonna get that.
Necrogoblicon's a lot of fun.
Fun, yes. That is a word that you could. That is one way you could describe them.
I would say they're a semi-successful gimmick band that I enjoy listening to on occasion.
No, they're cowards, because the main guy, they would be a brilliant band. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If he had committed to being the Goblin, but instead they hired a different guy to beat the Goblin, and the vocals is just this guy, and so then on stage you got a guy do, because that's the funny thing. It's like, oh yeah, they're Goblin vocals. They're the fucking black metal vocals sound like a goblin, and there's a goblin mascot. Perfect. But then it's some other guy they hire, like,
he's the Flavor Flav of modern metal.
That other guy is also probably much funnier, because like he also have him make YouTube videos and stuff and do a whole like YouTube talk show thing. But like, then who's this other guy? And I'm pretty sure that guy's the actual guy whose band it is, who I'm pretty sure just like, did the original track, and then that blew up, and he's like, and then like hired a band. So like he didn't want to be a goblin all the time, which I get why, but also maybe they'd be bigger if he was the fucking goblin.
Well, maybe.
But then again, maybe
or if
not.
They were
maybe
all goblins.
The other guy, well, yeah, or they could all be goblins, right? But no, it's just a bunch of dudes and a goblin, and the goblin doesn't sing, he doesn't play, he's just there, he's like a mascot. But that's not what Necrogoblicon should be like. But whatever.
It is what it is, I suppose.
Oh, Kristen Starkey is apparently also in Twilight Force. Does Twilight Force have 2 singers now? I mean, I don't know. I haven't kept with Twilight Force because
not a band I've listened to.
The one time I heard them, they were real bad. So maybe they're less bad now.
I think Kristen Starkey was the operatic female vocals on Love's Souvenir.
Probably. That makes sense.
Yeah, because it was the only part that Ty did, and from what I can tell, Kristen did, was this very operatic. She had extremely high vocals. Ty had the high male tenor, whatever, vocals, and they were mixed back. And it's probably why it's the best song I've heard Ty on. That's not saying that Ty sounds bad. Ty sounds great, but that's not why it's the best song I've heard Ty on. It was just a good song.
It's interesting because I would have I didn't even realize he was on it until you mentioned it, and then I listened to it again, and then I caught it. But right, it's sort of just like the additional operatic stuff. It would have been interesting to hear him do like an actual. I think he maybe did an actual song on their last album, because didn't he do something with them? Or am I confusing this with the Archers? At Mad with Power came out and did a song with.
It's all very confusing at this point. It's getting a little bit.
It's fine. But both him and Kristen Starkey, it would have been interesting to hear them do non-operatic vocals, because they're both very good. I've heard the tracks that Kristen did on Kai's album. Very, very good vocal performance. So that'll be interesting. I'm also on that album. I play some guitar.
Attaboy. But it's a shame that we don't quite have the video portion of this podcast worked out yet, and we're I think working on that, because otherwise
try it. That was the thing. We just got to try it.
Should we fire up one of the videos and talk about a video a little bit?
Yeah, let's attempt it.
All right, let's give her. We do have a couple of options. There's the Almost Town, which is I think that's probably their bigger single, if not the first single. The Old Hurt of Being Left Behind. Sure, that's the. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure the Old Hurt of Being Left Behind is the first single, because it was the only song I could hear when I first tried to listen to this.
No, you are correct that is the first. I think the Almost Town are probably more like the bigger, more obvious.
Yeah, because it's a much better song.
Well, I would almost say it's more poppy. It's got kind of more hooks.
Yeah, it's a better song. It has melodies. Like, that's the other thing with this bit. Sometimes, so 2 things, because this was good, and much like the Evergrey thing. Like, so if I just sit home and like don't do anything else and listen to an album, I can usually get a pretty good read in the first listen. Apparently, when I'm driving, I need 2 listens, because both the Evergrey and Seven Spires, I liked a lot more on the second listen. I was like, oh, okay, I get where it's going with this. But when I first listened to, they have some songs that don't really the melodies don't get as catchy, and sometimes they're in that like Camelot, but not quite hitting the sort of, again, the sort of well-crafted melodies of the Camelot songs, because that's the thing with Camelot too, right? They have like hooky choruses, very hooky. There are some on this, but they're not quite as good at the hookiness as Camelot. And the other thing being although I think this is the album with the least of this issue, and it's a lot of symphonic bands, is that the symphonic stuff takes up a lot of frequency space. And so you end up sometimes with either small sounding guitars, small sounding drums. There are some songs where the drums kind of get a little buried, but it's not as bad as on the earlier stuff. And also I just think, like, if they try to, because I'm pretty sure Adrian does all their like programming of orchestral samples as the symphonic stuff, but they should just get a keyboard player, because at the end of the day, there's not a huge difference, and live it means that they're playing to a track, and so it's like, just get a keyboard player, or at least get a keyboard player for the tour, have them play some of the parts and fill the other stuff in. But there are, again, the melody at like the beginning of the album was so not predictable, but like familiar. Like,
I liked it.
Again, I don't know if it sounded like
there was.
It's likable. Yeah, it's likable because you've heard it like 50 times.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It sounds like it's either in some soundtrack or a Camelot song. That was the so that was like these are my nitpicks. I'm not. It is a good album.
I have a nitpick about the intro,
but I need to nitpick it because the song is called "Your Music Is Bad."
That's fair. Actually, I have a real specific nitpick about the intro. There were 2 specific points where Adrian hits a high note and then a higher note, and then it seems so obvious that she's going to hit this insanely high, awesome note, and she didn't sing it. The note wasn't there. I was like,
she faked you out.
How fucking dare you? I wanted to hear the note. It was going to be an awesome note, and then it wasn't there, and that pissed me off. It was
That's
bullshit.
hilarious. I mean, there's a few points where she does do that.
Oh yeah, there is some extremely high notes in various places where she just absolutely gets after it, and she sounds awesome. But it like everything was leading to that note. It was supposed to be there. I get maybe this is another one of these. Well, we're creating tension, blah, 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 blah,
subverting
bullshit.
your expectations. But right, the problem is,
how fucking dare you? That's not what I'm here for.
It's that it's not necessarily.
I want my expectations met.
Building tension. It's just sort of like you said. It's just sort of just deciding to not do that thing.
I'm confident she could hit that note. It was gonna be great, and then it wasn't.
Probably,
there.
But she does it too many times in the album. It won't have the same effect.
Keep doing it. Also, apparently there's a video for Architect of Creation as well, which I have not watched yet, and I really like that song.